All right, that's interesting. Yeah, and that's great that you were able to kick the addiction. I think it's I mean, just for health wise, you know.
Yeah, now I'm at 200 pounds at least. I'm kind of going up and down a bit, but I'm at the moment 200 pounds, and I'm just very proud that I gave up that
Yeah,
addiction.
well, I've got the early stage of type 2 diabetes, which they reckon I can reverse if I cut out sugar, which I've been addicted to all my life, of course.
Mhm.
So again, I know what it's like, but everyone's capable of doing it.
Yep, you
I
just
just
have to
know,
have the right support and just do
yeah,
what you need to do.
yeah. I think each person's an individual. So I think with some it's very easy, and with others it's very hard, and they need much more support. So I don't think they should just lump everyone into a box and just say it's this easy to pigeonhole people, because every individual, I think, is a totally different case.
Yeah, definitely. Hey,
Hmm.
Lisa, give him a bit of what you've gone through and how you overcame that.
Right.
Yes, I struggled in my childhood that I didn't really understand until my late 40s.
Hmm.
I found out in the late 40s that I have complex PTSD,
Right.
and it's not from physical abuse, it's from emotional abuse.
Yes. Yep.
And
I understand. Yep.
yes, I blocked all of it out. And my I found out in my late 40s, and I started getting help by counseling women's groups that suffered from the same thing. And I call it as I won a speech, and I was always like failing in speech in college and too scared to speak. So there's a story behind me
Yeah.
winning the speech, and Doug was there and witnessed it, and actually got it on video. It's on my YouTube channel.
Right.
It's called
Right.
The Two Masks of Wonder Woman. You'll have to check it out.
Oh,
It's
well,
called
yeah.
The
No,
Two Masks of Wonder Woman
that's
because I've
great.
been told I look like Linda Carter my whole life. So
Right.
I have this custom made Wonder Woman suit that looks like hers, and did that speech and won. And I was just in awe because I was there to win a crown. And I think I was more shocked that I won that speech. But so in the speech, I said I took off my mask and peeled my nasty onion layer by layer of
Right.
all of the triggers, because I kept having these triggers that I didn't know what they were until I
Right.
understood they
Yeah.
were post-traumatic stress disorder. So
Mm.
anyway, so that ended up helping me bloom into the
Oh, yeah.
I'm blooming, yes, into
Yeah.
the unique. I call myself the unique blue rose because
I
turquoise
think
is my
that's
favorite color.
Yeah, that's a great expression, and to me, you exude confidence. So I think you've come a long way if you've had the PTSD. Um, was that a childhood thing of being confronted and scared emotionally from adults who because of their experience? Yes,
It's
so
a
many
it's a
people think back
cycle,
then.
a generational cycle. And
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
learned this week, which this was interesting because I have a friend that does a presentation on the 1900s. There's a
hmm,
school at Tanny Hill. I don't know if you ever heard of Tanny Hill in Alabama, but there's a school, old school building they still have there. So she dresses up like a 1900 school teacher. And in her presentation, she was talking about the stuff they did in the early 1900s, to the fact that because I was right hand, left handed,
right, hmm,
and then all of a sudden I became right handed. And witnessing my stepmother, who has now got dementia, watching my dad when she started eating with her left hand. It drove Dad crazy, and I was like, "What does it matter as long as it get as long as she eats?" Well, when she did her presentation, I was like, "Oh my, that's interesting," because my grandparents, which would have been my dad's parents, were in the early 1900s, and I didn't know that they would force you, like they would hit your hand to make you go right-handed, and that was interesting. That I think it is trickled down to why I possibly ended up, instead of being the right, that I was forced to be the right-handed.
It's so scary when you think about all the ways they used to just ignorantly try to correct things that they shouldn't have done. In that, it's almost like, you hear about the old days of electroconvulsive shock therapy just to stop people being gay or straight or whatever. And there's just so many things you could talk about that are better today.
Yes.
Just from conversation, really.
Yeah, definitely. Because that shock therapy, I don't think it should be used against anyone that's gay.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because you're special the way you are. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And let's hope that people are becoming more tolerant. I know it's difficult with some human beings because I personally believe every problem arises because of some insecurity in these bullying people, massive insecurity that they try to disguise as superiority.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when we do stuff like that, we need to make sure we help both the victim and the bully, because the bully's doing it not because he wants to do it, but a lot of cases it's because he's suffering. He or she.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There might be maybe a very, very small percent that are just born bad, but mostly the bullies themselves have the problem as well, as you say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, this is all we have left for now. I just have one last question. And if you're interested, you can come back on the podcast maybe sometime next year.
Yeah, could always talk more about the history of all of this stuff and do some more amusing stuff for your folks.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, the question I have is, how do you think your journey can impact generations of people down the road?
I just think because what I wanted to do was in a very highly specialized area, and often you would get people who probably meant well, but they'd say, "Oh, you're never going to do that. You'll never be able to get into that thing." Or my advice would be, take their advice, sure, but really, if you want to do something badly enough, I don't think anything is going to stop you if you have the passion and the drive to succeed, and a little bit of talent that you can develop and hone and make better just by constant observation and constant practice and loving it. And I think if you do find something that you love to do, it does become a life. And the funny thing is, I'm in my late 60s, and I'm just as enthusiastic today when I go in to do a voiceover as I was in my 20s. So you never lose that love of it. And I do think that if you can get something like that and make it happen for yourself, you can take all of the well-meaning advice in the world, and sometimes they can block you and stop you, If you really want it bad enough, I think the blocking stops and you just go ahead and try anyway. But somewhere along the way, you tend to meet people who have those same interests. And then if you can latch on to someone else with the same interest, that suddenly you think, aha, it's not just me. There's all these other, you joke about it. You say all these other geeks or nerds or dweebs or whatever the expression might be. And suddenly you're part of a group, and that gives you a great sense of belonging, So I think anything is doable. Of course, I know that, sometimes things happen in life. It's the old saying, life gets in the way. And then we all have to deal with that. But I do think both of you saying that one of the most important things is support, and finding a support group and people who can intervene when it's really bad. I think this is all very valuable these days, especially with the way the world moves today, with the media and everything with technology means that everything is moving at such a breakneck pace. Sometimes it seems like your head is going to explode anyway, just with all the information you have to deal with and the terrible news. So yeah, it can be difficult, but human intervention, I think, is a great thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just my take on it.
Yeah, for sure. What are your final thoughts, Lisa?
It was funny how he said explode. I've been going through, and this is my last 2 weeks. I realized I was having a lot of emotional triggers recently with a job, and
Right.
as a child, I had no control, but as an adult, you do. So I gave my 2-week notice. I have another job lined up starting the 1st of December, but I've got 2 more weeks because that's just my character to not leave a company hanging.
I'm like that.
I felt like today I had this client that it's high maintenance is what you'd say. And I felt like I was going to explode today. So when you said your head explode, I was even telling the people I felt like I was about to explode. So sometimes it is hard to bottle stuff up that you'd love to tell people, but you just know that if you do, you might find somebody else who's got sensitivity issues and you're going to upset them. So it's like this cycle. It is, yes, very much so.
But it does sound like you've learned a lot in and been able to really help yourself, which I think is fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's all we have for now, everyone. But let's thank Keith for coming on the show. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure, Doug and Lisa. It was my pleasure, and I'm sure maybe in a year or so we can do a chapter 2 of all of this silly stuff, which gives your audience a bit of relief from the heaviness of the world. And I guess I can close off with Porky Pig doing his usual.
Oh, thank you, Doug and Miss Hopkins, and that's all, folks.